Welcome, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. We are so excited to have you joining us from New York. We've been doing a couple of these webinar. We've done these webinar a lot, kind of across the country, but we've done a couple of these that's like dedicated for a certain group of realtors. So I am super excited to be doing this for you guys. I love New York. I love New York City. I love New York State. So I'm super pumped to be on here with you guys today. So we do want to do a quick audio check just to make sure that everything is working and functioning correctly. So how you'll communicate with us is that questions box. So I think it has a question mark, maybe something like that. If you type in the questions box, that's how you'll communicate with us. Not everyone will see that, but we will see it here in the podcast or the webinar command central, and we can respond to your questions and your responses then. So we want to know, to check the audio, where in New York are you joining us from? What city, what town, what area? I've got producer Christian manning the chat. We'll check in with him on that in just a second, but we want to know where you're joining us from. So put that in the questions box. And then what has been your favorite part of this quarantine so far? So obviously there's a lot of negative with all this, but let's talk about something positive. What's been your favorite part, or your favorite activity, or the most fun thing you've done with this quarantine so far? And put that in the questions box as well, okay? Let's check in with producer Christian and see if people are starting to chime in on the chat there and letting us know where
Hello,
they're
Terry.
from.
Hey, looks
Hey,
like
what's up, buddy?
they are, yeah, people are chiming in. We have the first one was Cornwall, New York. Got
Okay.
Lindenhurst. We got OK, which I assume is Oklahoma. We got Staten
There's
Island.
no way that it's Oklahoma if this is a,
It just says OK.
maybe it's Oklahoma, New York, or
Could
OK,
be.
New York. I don't
Yeah,
know.
OK, New York. Yeah. And then we got, just all over New York area. Great
Love
Neck,
it.
Rochester, Bronx, Rochester, Long Island, Binghamton,
Nice.
Staten Island, Kinderhook. Yeah. So
That's
people are
cool. Yeah,
chiming in.
that's great. Staten Island, we were in Staten Island not too long ago. We were actually supposed to be coming again, I think, this month, but with all this shutdown, we were not able to come and talk to the fine realtors in the Long Island area. But that is good times. We do get to New York a couple of times a year for different speaking engagements and different things. So excited to be on with all you guys today. Christian, has anybody chimed in on what their favorite part of quarantine has been, or what their favorite activity is? And if it's like playing drinking games or getting hammered by 10 in the morning, you can just edit those out.
We do. We have Rebecca says hers is starting a ballet bar class. Wow,
Oh, that's cool. Okay,
that's cool.
nice.
Bob says deeper connection with clients, yard work, and dog walks. I'm with you,
There you
Bob.
go. There
Doing
you
the same
go.
thing. Eating, Ted. Me and Ted are linked there on the eating.
I have been cooking up a storm. I'm literally today, like just a second before we went live on this webinar, I sprayed down the pork shoulder that I'm smoking right now on my smoker, because why not? Right?
Yes, I'm getting a Corning exclamation point, not Cornwood. So
Oh,
I must have said Cornwood. I apologize.
you gotta hurry. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. Well, that's awesome. Very good. So again, that questions box is how you will interact with us today. We are super excited to hear from you throughout this webinar. So at any time, if you have any questions about things I'm talking about, we will get to questions at the end for sure. If you just want to interact, you can do that there. We've got producer Christian monitoring the chat, and so you can, and the questions, so you can talk with him.
That's right,
Um,
Terry. I'm in the command center.
in the command center. And by the way, I do think it's important to note that producer Christian and I are on two different sides of town right now. So
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
not together in the same room. Don't think that, right? We're respecting the quarantine and respecting social distance. So one more quick note, if you do happen to lose audio or video during this, sometimes we've had that happening with GoToWebinar. Just reload the page. You will not be kicked out of the webinar. It'll let you back in. So if you lose audio, you might have to reload the page, or if it's just not working or spotty for you, we're gonna have a nice video recording of this webinar. So we'll send you a replay link, but at least try to reload the page and see if you can get back in with us live, okay? So
I have one more
we are,
thing.
do
Uh,
it.
Cindy says that she's been painting murals and large paintings, so it's my kind of
Wow.
person. Got a creative there. Good job, Cindy.
Wow. I love that, Cindy. Do your thing, Cindy. Paint that mural. I love it. Good stuff.
And then
Okay, so
also, Andrew says I cannot see you guys. I don't think we're not sharing video on this. Just
no,
gonna audio only.
we are about a month to 6 weeks overdue for haircuts, so we're just
Right.
putting the slides up today. I've got a picture here in just a second I'll share, but no, we're not going live videos, just the slides today. So
Yeah,
I
you guys are lucky.
promise. Yeah, trust me, you're not missing anything without having our cameras on for sure. Okay, so we are super pumped to bring you this topic. We have been a virtual team, a virtual brokerage for many years, and so we have kind of felt prepped for a time like this where we're working virtually, working from home and all that. I want you to know that we are in this with you. We are working from home. I'm even doing this webinar from my home. Producer Christian is at his home as well. So we're in the trenches with you here. And also, by the way, that also means you have to ignore any noises that you may hear from our family or our kids or whatever in the background. That's just kind of part of what we're all dealing with right now. I did boot the family outside because we have a beautiful day here in Indianapolis. So I kicked them out, but they may come in and scream. I don't know. Just ignore it, right? We're all dealing with it right now. Just disregard. So when I say we, who do I mean? So the three of us there are the boom team, left to right, Todd, Megan, and Terry. I am Terry. I am the guy on the right. You just have me and producer Christian today. Producer Christian does kind of the behind the scenes producing.
Yeah, I'm
And
implied in that
sometimes
picture. So
you're the guy that took the picture. So,
that's right. I am behind
your
the camera.
presence is all over this photo, but this is what we look like, pre-quarantine hair and all that. So that's me, Terry, on the right. Todd and Megan on the left are married. And then there's me. The three of us, along with producer Christian, make up the boom team. Again, you just have us today, but as a group, it's really fun because we do get to speak and train around the country. That's how we end up being in New York a couple of times a year, which we love. We also we have a podcast. It's called the Boom Real Estate Podcast. It is on iTunes and Stitcher and Spotify. Producer Christian's going to link it up in the chat so that you can click over and check that out. And the reason I mention that is because we have just released season 3.5, which is a combination of some of our best work from home episodes that we've done in the past. And then we've got all new content with like a mini season 3.5, and that has more trainings on this topic. We're a lot of the things we're going to dive into, all three of us kind of discuss and walk you through even more with more ideas. So you can check out the podcast and hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any of those trainings. So that's us. We're the boom team. The other thing that I think it's important for you to know is that the three of us, Todd, Megan, and myself, we own and operate Ferris Property Group in the Indianapolis market. That's where we're located. Our brokerage is just an independent brokerage. Ferris Property Group, we're just boutique. We have about 30 agents right now, about 7 admins. So, but we are active practicing real estate agents with you. So we are in the trenches with you on a day in, day out basis, working on inspection responses, writing offers, negotiating, doing all those things that we do as realtors every day. So we are in the trenches with you. We're feeling the same effects as you are. But that's a little bit about who we are and what we do. We get to do this fun kind of like training stuff, but we also are active practicing realtors as well and run the team too. So, okay, so let's talk about who this webinar is for. So just to make sure you're kind of in the right place and know what to expect here. If you're just someone who's unsure about what this quarantine means for your business, you are obviously absolutely not alone. We're going to talk about our 2 cents on what this will mean for your business. If you're someone who wants to be proactive right now, you want to take advantage of this quarantine time somehow, but you're just not sure how, you're in the right place. We're going to have a lot of ideas for you as well. If you have set some 2020 goals that were ambitious, that were aggressive, that you were excited about, and you don't want to compromise on those, but you're afraid you might have to, we're going to talk about that. You're in the right place because we don't think that you necessarily have to compromise those 2020 goals at this point, okay? We'll talk about that. If you need creative ideas for how to continue to build your business, even though we're on this stay-at-home order, I want you to know that you are in the right place as well, okay? So let's talk through the plan for today. We're going to touch on health and safety a little bit. There's a lot of good resources out there that are a heck of a lot better than producer Christian and myself. So but just want to touch on that really quick. We're going to give you our market outlook, which is our prediction over what to expect in the next few months. We want to talk through how to cultivate an unstoppable mindset, which is super huge and key, and it's why it's before everything else after the market outlook. But before is the mindset. We're going to start there when we talk about how you can how you can handle this quarantine and be productive. We're going to explore some virtual solutions. Some of them you may already know about, some you might not. We're going to talk through personal habits and routines. What are some things you can be doing now in a habit way, in a routine way, that will allow you to build your business and grow it over time, right? We're going to talk through finances, what this means for business and personal finances, and how best to navigate that as well. We want to talk about what activities you should be focusing on. There's a million things you could be doing. You could be eating bonbons on the couch and, you know, crying yourself to sleep every night, but what kinds of things? We don't suggest that. What kinds of activities should you be focusing on right now? We'll talk through that and give you some ideas there. And then we'll talk through a 30-day action plan that you will get with the coronavirus playbook here that we're going to walk through today. A little bit of housekeeping. Oh, by the way, too, I want you in the questions box, if there's other things that you want us to cover. The plan here is to go about an hour-ish, and I say hour-ish because I almost always go a little bit long. I want to go about an hour with the content, and then we'll stick around for at least a little bit and answer a handful of questions from you too. So we'll get to as many questions as we can get to. So feel free at any point to put those questions in the chat. Producer Christian will be curating those questions for our Q&A at the end. But if there's things you want us to touch on that was not in the agenda that I just put out before you, let us know. You can start putting those in the questions box now, okay? Housekeeping, you are going to get the slides at the end of this webinar, so don't worry. You don't have to like screenshot these or anything like that. We're going to send you a PDF of all these slides at the end of the webinar so that you'll have all the information with you. We'll send you a replay link to where if you get kicked off or if you have to leave early or whatever, you'll get a link to the replay. We just want to make sure that you have this information, okay? So that's that. Feel free again to put your questions in the questions box, and then kind of our stay till the end bonus is at the end. We will upload into GoToWebinar the coronavirus playbook itself, the PDF and the slides. So we're going to give you all that here. If you for some reason can't download it, don't worry, don't freak out, because we'll email you links to all that stuff anyway. Okay, boom. Let's talk about this. Coronavirus playbook. So I think we probably could have come up with a less scary name or a less scary title slide than this one. But anyway, there it is, all caps, all red, looking hardcore and serious. So coronavirus, this is obviously this quarantine, this COVID-19 stuff is not anything that we have ever seen before in our lifetime, obviously. So I want to say just right at the outset that whatever emotions you are feeling are okay. It is normal to feel whatever you're feeling. If you're scared, if you're feeling anxiety, if you're feeling nervous, if you're feeling pumped about all the time at home, if you're excited to have the family time, if you're feeling all those things, if you're depressed, if you're sad, anything is reasonable right now because we have never been through this. So give yourself some grace during this time to feel whatever it is you're feeling. But having said that, don't let yourself dwell too much on the negative, okay? And I don't want to minimize how serious this is. People, I've had 2 people in my family that have been hospitalized with this. Luckily, they are okay, and I'm thankful for that. But I know that people are losing lives, people are losing jobs, people are losing income, and so out of all this, I'm going to be painting trying to help cultivate a positive outlook for you and a positive mindset. But I do that knowing how serious this is, and in no way wanting to minimize the seriousness of this virus, okay? So don't ever hear me saying that it's not that big a deal. But what I am saying is that despite the negative of coronavirus, there are a lot of silver linings and there's a lot of opportunity for you, both in your personal life and in your business. So while it is okay to feel all your feelings and acknowledge all your feelings, give yourself some grace, but don't dwell on the negative. And we'll talk more about how to cultivate positivity as we go through this too, okay? So there we go. Let's talk health and safety. Again, we're not going to spend a lot of time here. You get it by now. The biggest thing right out the gate that I want to say is adhere to the rules and guidelines that are set forth by your governor and by NYSAR. I'm going to say NYSAR. It's NYSAR. I don't know if it's NYSAR. I don't know if because like here we call our board of realtors is called MyBor, Metro Indy Board of Realtors. We say MyBor. I don't know if you guys say NYSAR or if you say NYSAR. Somebody put that in the questions box and let me know. Do you say NYSAR or do you say each letter NYSAR? Because I don't want to look like a dummy if I say the wrong thing during this whole time. And Christian, I'm going to check in with you in a second to find out that answer. I do want to let you know that your association has got a lot of awesome resources, and I was checking these out yesterday to get ready for today. There's an FAQ page. Christian's going to put links to these in the chat as well. They've got a frequently asked questions page that tells you how you can be conducting business, what is permissible, what is not permissible. That's super helpful. And I looked at that, so I'm up to speed kind of on where you guys are right now. They also have an updates page, and Christian will link to that as well. You see that going in the chat right now. Those are super helpful resources for you guys. And I love that they've got the updates page, so you can kind of be checking in on that to see, is there new information? Did I miss anything? Make sure you're staying compliant. Make sure you're adhering to the laws, both of what the governor's putting out, what your local cities might have out, and what your association is putting out as well. So those links are in the chat. Bookmark those pages, check them out. They're going to be super helpful. And if you have questions specific to how you should be functioning right now, I'm going to pass you on to those pages or your association, because I don't want to misspeak here, okay? I don't want to give you false information or tell you something wrong. So consult the proper authorities on that. Christian, did we find
And
out?
Terry, yes, we have
is
the
it
proper
NYSAR?
pronunciation. Yes, you're correct on that. They said NYSAR was the word.
Okay, good. I was super afraid of saying NYSAR for an hour and everybody just thinking I'm a dummy. Then that's not how they say it. So good to know. Thanks, Christian, and thank you guys who helped me out with that for sure.
And also
So,
FAQs went out, and so did the updates link.
Yep, I see them right there in the chat. So
Yep.
you've got those links. Bookmark those pages. Those are real. That's really well done by your association, and I think yeah, that's going to be helpful for you guys if you didn't know they were already out there. But they're still, and I would say whatever, like I know you guys are on lockdown hardcore and all that, and I know there's no showings, all that stuff, but stick around because there's still going to be a lot of helpful information in this webinar. So don't worry, we've got a lot of ideas for you, even knowing the situation you guys are in. Okay, so we'll get to all that stuff. Let's talk health and safety really quick. First of all, of course, practice good hygiene. Do the things that you typically would do to avoid being sick. Take your vitamin C. Wash your hands, get enough sleep, all that stuff. Make sure you stay quarantined as much as possible. I know that you guys are really locked down right now, so make sure you're staying compliant with all those regulations. Encourage others to practice social distancing as well. We all have those people in our lives who are not respecting coronavirus, who are not respecting the quarantine, and are still just doing whatever they want to. But I would say you as a realtor have some influence in your community. There's a good chance that you have anywhere from a couple dozen people that know you, respect you, that are in your circle of influence, or maybe you've got several hundred people or a couple thousand people even that you're a resource for, that they look up to you. So use your platform, use your influence to encourage others to do the right thing and practice social distancing as well. And then the last note on this, I want to encourage you to just use tact, especially when it comes to social media and in your marketing and all that. This is not a time to take advantage of a situation. It's not a time to be salesy, sleazy realtor. It's time to take care of people and to use tact. Now, we can have a lot of fun talking about all the fun things we do on quarantine. And obviously, I can already tell from the chat that we're having with you that you guys are a fun group and it's a bunch of fun. But just be smart. So have fun when you're talking about all the stay-at-home stuff, work from home and working in your jammies and all that stuff. Like, have a bunch of fun with that. Post it on social media, all that. But just use tact and be respectful of people that have it worse than you during all this. Okay, so think about that. I know you guys are smart. I know you guys are good people, and you'll do that. I just feel better if I say that to you. Okay, let's talk market outlook. These are our speculations. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball here in Indianapolis, but this is kind of how we're reading the situation for the real estate market for most of the country. Okay, so first of all, we think we're going to be in this market slowdown that we're in for a few months, 2 to 3 months most likely. There's going to be fewer closings in May, June, and July. I don't know about for you. For me, March and April weren't super affected because we've got that 30 to 45 day cycle from when you go under contract to when you close. So for us, we were seeing pretty decent numbers in March. A little bit of a decline is going to come out when we get the April numbers in, but we think things are going to be slower in May, June, and July. So these couple of months, right? We do think that, and this obviously depends on how the quarantine goes and what kind of regulations are in place. We do think when it's permissible again in New York and across the country, buyers will continue to look at homes, but most sellers are going to wait until the all clear. Obviously, across the country, we've seen an inventory shortage. because of that, there's still a lot of buyers who are struggling to find a property that meets their needs, right? And so because of that, we think buyers are going to be more aggressive and ready to go right now than sellers. Sellers, if they don't have to sell right away, they're probably going to play it safe and wait until the all clear. You guys know your markets better than I do. Obviously, being New York, there's quite a bit of diversity between what's happening in the city and what happens in the rest of the state. So you've got just about every possible market in your state, but that's our read. Buyers are going to continue to look at homes when they're allowed to see them. Again, I know that there's no showings right now in New York, but when they can, they'll get back out there as soon as possible. But sellers are going to probably wait it out and be a little bit slower to act. We think that the slowdown of this real estate activity is going to directly correlate to the length of the quarantine. And here's what we're thinking. When the government gives the all clear, city by city, region by region, as they open it up slowly over the course of time, we think real estate activity will boom very quickly, because right now, New York, Indiana is the same way. We have a spring market that's typically one of the biggest markets, if not the biggest season for selling all year long. So all of this business that's happening in Q2 is going to re-enter the market once the government gives the all clear, right? So that second quarter business will now just be spread out over the third and fourth quarter, right? So the key is going to be to survive a 2 to 3 month slowdown and then prepare for a mid to late summer recovery, or even potentially boom, because you have that queue of buyers and sellers who didn't act in the second quarter, but now will act in the second half of the year in quarters 3 and 4. Okay, so survive now and be ready for the boom when it's over. This is why we believe that you can still have a great year this year, because the recovery will be a massive boom in the second half of this year. And if you agree with us on that, if you think that's what's going to happen in your marketplace, if you're feeling optimistic and feeling good, put a big old yes in that questions box. We want to hear from you, because this is what we think is really going to happen. I get a lot of people on this webinar at this point that ask the question, what about unemployment? What about people losing jobs that plan to do something and then aren't able to do something now? Yes, that is going to happen. That's going to happen more than it has in the last few years, for sure, right? So but here's what we will say about that. When you know this, if you have buyers or sellers, you're always going to have a certain percentage of buyers and sellers who have life happen to them and their timeline gets changed. So every year that you've done real estate, you've had clients who you said, oh, they're going to buy something in 30 days or 6 months or this year, and then guess what? They move, or they have a loss of job. Something happens, something changes in their life. Now their plans get pushed back. That's going to happen, but that always happens. Is it going to happen more often than typical this year? Yes, but that's why it's key to be using this time to do what you can to replace those clients and still hit your 2020 goals. So yes, unemployment is real. Loss of job is going to affect you, but if you're doing a good job on your systems, on your lead follow-up, and you're filling those holes in your business that we're going to talk about, you're going to be in a better spot to replace those buyers who are not, or sellers who are not able to do what they want to do that you planned on. Okay, so I feel like I didn't say that awesome just now, but I think you get the idea. Christian, what's going on in the chat as far as the yeses go, buddy? Are we getting any yeses at all? Does anybody agree that we're going to have a big second half of this year?
Yeah, overwhelming yeses. There's
it.
a few people in there that have concerns, but for the most part, it is yes, 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 mostly with all caps and exclamation points.
I love it. I love it. See, so you guys are pumped like I am, which means we're going to take advantage of these next couple of months. We're going to survive and get through it, and then we're going to be ready for the onslaught that's coming in the second half of this year. And listen, if you weren't a yes, I totally get that. Like, I understand. Maybe you don't agree with that, and you have your reasons for thinking that for sure. Maybe you think unemployment's going to be crippling and we're going to go into a big economic meltdown of some kind. I don't happen to think that. A lot of us, obviously, in the chat don't happen to think that. We are all being optimistic. Again, we don't have a crystal ball, but we think the market's going to come back with a vengeance when all this is over. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about cultivating an unstoppable mindset. Cultivating unstoppable mindset. This is huge, right? So this is what I'm going to say is the most important key. You guys have been quarantined as long as we have, and probably longer. And so you know how your mindset fluctuates on a daily basis with all this. It does anyway in real estate, right? Like it always does in real estate. So you have good days, you have bad days. It's just, I think right now we feel it a little bit more acutely. Sometimes you wake up in a great mood, sometimes you wake up in a bad mood, and you don't even know why, right? It just happens. So cultivating this unstoppable mindset is going to be the most important key. And based on what I said a minute ago, I want you to stay engaged because your 2020 goals are still within reach. You've got to believe that. You've got to believe it isn't too soon to give up on your 2020 goals. We are only in early May. There is still 8 months left in 2020, right? We have just started 2020. We've got plenty of time left. So stay engaged. Your goals are still within reach. But listen, we've got to guard our mental health on a daily, even hourly basis. So whatever it is you do in the morning to feel good, to get in the right headspace, whether that's pray or read or meditate or do affirmations, do visualizations, get yourself in the right frame of mind every day. Make sure you're moving your body every day. Be physically active because you know that's going to put you in a better mood today. You can do your exercise to get ripped and to get buff like producer Christian if you want, but exercise now so that you feel good now, so that you feel good today, okay? This is actually, the social distancing, all this is actually an opportunity, and I want you to try to reframe it in your mind to think about it. If everyone in your family is healthy and safe, frame this as an opportunity in disguise because we have the luxury of simultaneously spending more time with our family and working on our most important work in our business, like sphere touches, like lead gen, like systemization, all that. And we're doing it without the everyday disruptions and distractions of errands and meetings, right? You have the opportunity to sow seeds or to build systems and habits that will far outlast this quarantine and the social distancing, right? So treat this like the opportunity it truly is because this will hopefully be once in a lifetime, a once in a lifetime opportunity for you to work on the important things of your business and spend more time at home. What do we always want in this business? When things are rolling in a normal market, we wish we had more time at home with our family and we wish we had more time to get things in place in our business, to work on our business, right? You've been given that gift now. This is your time. So take it for the opportunity that it is. I want to ask you to put in the questions box, what's been your biggest obstacle around mindset so far? Okay, we can look at these at the end of the webinar today, Christian, and see if there's any that we want to address or any questions about it. But I want to know what the biggest mindset obstacle is so far. Put that in the questions box and we will move on and kind of look at it at the end of the webinar during our Q&A time. Let's talk virtual solutions now. Okay, virtual solutions. First of all, showings. Right now, your showings are shut down, and I know that. So adhere to that. Don't be that guy. Do the right thing. Don't do showings. But there may be some virtual showing options, right? There are some agents who are going to list some homes with virtual showing options, Matterport, 3D technology, things like that. But if you have a buyer who wants to see a house that doesn't have that information, maybe you reach out to the listing agent and ask the seller just to do a little walkthrough video to show the house, right? Reach out and at least see if you can make that happen. It's a good way for you to be helping and providing next level service to your buyers, even though showings are shut down right now. And then one thing that we're doing from time to time here as well is what about writing an offer contingent upon being able to walk through the property? I don't know, again, get with your broker, get with your manager, get with your attorney, make sure you get the right language, check with your board, check with NYSAR, make sure it's all good, but maybe write an offer contingent upon walking through the property when physically permissible, okay? Get creative. We call that creative agency, but that's a great way to continue to serve your clients even while showings are shut down right now, okay? Let's talk buyer-seller consultations. Hopefully you're way ahead of me on this. You can use GoToMeeting, Zoom, Google Hangouts, FaceTime, Skype, Microsoft has one. There's a million of these. But the thing I like about them is conduct these listing appointments, going through the market data with sellers, buyer consultations for first-time buyers, right? Go through all that stuff. The nice thing is you can communicate face-to-face just like you normally would. And a lot of these technologies, I know Zoom has this for sure, but a lot of these technologies have a way for you to share your screen with them. So they can look through the market research, so they can look at your handout or your information and all that. So use those for buyer-seller consultations. Another thing you can do is be creative. Offer virtual staging. We talked about the walkthroughs, things like that. Find ways to provide services to your clients virtually and just think through some of that. We've got a lot of ideas about all these things, but just be creative with how you handle those consultations. Team and brokerage meetings right now. You should be still meeting as a team. If you're a broker, a manager, managing broker, it's still a great time to be conducting meetings with your people. Use GoToMeeting, use Zoom, use House Party. And I want to tell you to increase the frequency of these meetings. Your people are desperate for contact right now. They want to feel that same sense of connection, that same camaraderie, that same culture that they get from being face-to-face or meeting regularly in the office, assuming that you guys have a physical office. But increase the frequency of these meetings. Also, for the same reasons, leave time for fun Q&A time, to play games, for a little water cooler conversation. Provide that opportunity and do it more often now so that you're taking care of your agents. Increase the frequency, leave time for fun, do it because your people are ready for it. Offers and contracts, go paperless. Hopefully you are already. DocuSign, Dotloop are great resources there. Let's talk closings. I know that closings are still on, and I know there's approval for notaries right now, things like that. There are options for closings still. So talk with your title companies what the options are for virtual closings, if they offer that, if the state allows that, or mobile closings. Just make sure you're in contact with your title reps and people about that. So that you know what the options are for closings. Let's talk about personal habits and routines, okay? And let me just say this too, to start it off, it is super easy right now to just float through your day, to wake up when you feel like it, to kind of kick it around, watch the news, maybe check some email, make the kids lunch, kind of float through your day without any kind of real direction or purpose. And this can lead to a lot of bad things that we don't want: boredom, frustration, even depression. If you aren't going through your days on purpose, you are at risk of feeling unproductive, of feeling frustrated, of feeling depressed, bored, all that stuff. So we highly, highly encourage you to get into a daily routine with both your work life and your family. So make a schedule. We'll talk about that more in just a second, but feel free to adapt whatever you traditionally do. So like if you normally get up at 4 in the morning like producer Christian does and go on a 50-mile run every day like producer Christian does, now's the time that you probably could sleep in a little. It's okay. Take advantage. Enjoy the sleep.
I had rain, Terry, today. We only did 47. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, sometimes you adapted what you traditionally do. I like that.
Sorry, adapted. Sure.
But take advantage of this time. Make more time for family. Make the time to sleep in, and more time for a hobby. You've got the time now, so adapt it. But stay connected to your business as well, okay? So highly, highly encourage you to do that. This is, by the way, the perfect time to practice time blocking. All the real estate coaches and experts and managers and brokers and everybody says time block, 2 to 3 hour chunks to work on your most important work. This is the perfect time to start practicing that habit. And with habits, you can build habits now that are going to far outlast the quarantine. So positive habits and routines, things like lead gen every day. A lot of times we lead gen until we get business, then we work the business but don't take any time to lead gen, then we close all the business we've been working, and guess what? We have no business to work, and we do our lead gen again. The best habit is to time block and do lead gen every single day. This is the great time to build that habit. Do it now while it's easier, so that in a couple months when we are back to normal, you can continue to have that habit in place and be doing the right things. Other habits, personal habits, exercise, meditation. What about only checking email at set periods? I love this so much. We're going to talk about that more in a minute. Rather than having your email open all day, just checking it at set periods. Maybe a habit of reading or family dinner, all kinds of things like that. Control what you can control right now. That is yourself and that is your time. Okay, so control what you can control. So let me ask this question. We talk about habits and routines. Put this in the questions box. What is a habit or a routine that you're hoping to build or have already started building during this time? It could be exercise. It could be cooking for your family. It could be the lead gen. It could be all kinds of different things, right? What is a habit or routine that you're hoping to build during this time, or maybe you've already started building it during this time? Put that in the questions box because we want to know. Before we answer that, I want to go through kind of a sample daily schedule, Christian, and then we'll check into what people are saying, what habits and things they're wanting to do. So I want to give you just a sample daily schedule. This is just an example. So adapt this as much as you need to. Let's say you start your day, you get up at 8 o'clock, you slept in a little, maybe you didn't, maybe that's getting up early for you, I don't know. But let's say, for argument's sake, you get up at 8 o'clock, you do an all family workout. Great habit to start. We've started that in our family. The kids don't really like it, but it's good. They'll get over it, right? It's a good thing. Maybe at 9, you spend some time meditating, journal, prayer, all that. Maybe at 9:30, you do what we call buffer time. So buffer time is your time to be reactionary, right? So that's the time you're going to return calls that have come in, texts that have come in, process your email during that time. And then guess what? When you're done, shut all that down. Put the phone on do not disturb, close down your email so that you can be really productive, because now at 10 o'clock, we're starting a time block. This is lead gen, this is client care. We're hammering away for 2 hours. Maybe at noon you do lunch with the family, and maybe it's a long lunch. You guys get outside or you read or play games or whatever, right? Take a 2-hour lunch. Who cares? You can do it. But listen, when you come back, it's time for more buffer time. You catch up on email, catch up on your texts and calls, clear the decks for the afternoon, take 30 to 60 minutes, but then boom, it's another big time block, this time working on project time. We're developing systems, creating content, planning lead gen. We're going to go through all this stuff before we're done today. But a big block of project time there for 2.5 hours or so. Maybe at 5, you make and eat your dinner. 6:30, more family time. It's a movie night. Maybe you do one more buffer time to clear the decks before the day is over so you can relax in the evening, right? Get all those emails taken care of. Return those texts and phone calls if you need to. Maybe 9 o'clock or so, you get the kids in bed. 9:30, you just relax and live your life. So whatever it is, adapt this to suit your family's preferences, but make sure you're getting in those 2 to 3 times a day where you have big time blocks, those large uninterrupted periods of time for lead gen and projects. The beauty of this schedule is you get those big time blocks in, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, plus you get all that extra family time, plus you're building the solid personal habits like a workout or morning routine or family dinner, whatever it is. It's a beautiful thing. Just get on a schedule and stick to it. Get on a schedule and stick to it. There's no excuse right now that you can't have a schedule for your day and stick to it. Adapt it to your family's needs. Christian,
Yeah.
what are the habits, buddy? Talk to me.
Well, exercise, the overwhelming one. So it looks like
Love
people
it.
are making time to do that, which is excellent.
Yes.
And let's see, we've got journaling, studying scripts.
So good.
Lisa, Lisa's got me right in the heart here, working on her CRM.
There it is.
CRM, so that's
Yeah,
good.
we're going to talk about the CRM. That's great.
Yeah, and then Beth, learning video, learning how to post videos.
Oh, I love video so much.
Yes.
Listen, if we become friends on social media, which we should, Beth and whoever's listening to this, you're going to see that I love video so much. I probably love it too much, but it's all about video. I love it.
Yeah, send us a link to your video. I want to see it.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, that'd be good. Good stuff. I love it. Those are all great habits, right, Christian?
Yes, awesome. Good stuff. Mostly exercising, it seems like that's the overall.
That's good. You know what's funny is when you have a habit of exercising, it's one of those keystone habits that you can build other habits on top of. It's like the first domino in a line of habits that make your life a lot better. So I love seeing all that. Good for you guys.
Yeah, excellent stuff.
I do want to touch on if you have kids at home, because I acknowledge, like, if you have kids at home and you're the primary person that's trying to get them through their e-learning or connected learning or homeschool or whatever it is, your life is going to be a little harder, right? Because you're trying to do that and run a real estate business. So I just want to touch on a couple things for you. First of all, make a schedule. Let your family be a part of creating that schedule so that they're invested in it, and then and so that they're clear on the expectations, and then post that schedule for everybody to see. I've been talking to my kids and I have found out they really love a schedule. Now, they don't love doing their schoolwork. They don't love when it's chore time, which we'll talk about in a second, but they like having a schedule. It makes your day move along and flow along a lot better. I would tell you to be focused as well. Since your work time might be limited or it might be spotty, make sure that you're being as efficient and strategic and focused as possible during that time, okay? Get help if you can. If you can find a way to get help on, let's say, the home responsibilities, the chores, delegate and lean on others to carry the load. Be purposeful with this. So maybe the kids take on more chores, right? Our kids have been taking on more chores lately. They have time, and it's good to teach them how to do these things. They're learning how to make food. They're learning how to do laundry. They're learning how to load the dishwasher the right way, which apparently I've been told there's a right way to load the dishwasher. Anyway, the kids are learning that, so get that help, or Talk to your spouse about splitting duties. It's a great time for kids or spouses to learn new life skills, right? And to help out. So try to find a way to make it all work, right? I want to tell you again to give yourself grace. This is all new, like we're settling in maybe now after a month or a month and a half of this, but it's new, still new and weird and bulky and awkward and all that. It's gonna continue to get easier. It's gonna feel more normal. So try to cut yourself some slack and stay positive. And then make sure you're pouring into your own cup on a daily basis. Listen to your favorite music or read your books, listen to podcasts, do whatever it takes to keep your cup full so you've got good, positive mental health. And so that keeps you kind of chugging along and ready to take everything on, okay? So a little bit of tips there if you're dealing with kids at home. And again, if you have questions about this stuff, make sure you're putting them in the chat box, type them in the questions box. Christian's there, he's checking them out, and he's gonna pull some questions, some Q&A together for the end of this thing. But I wanna keep on rolling on the content right now. Let's talk finances. We're gonna talk business and personal. Let's talk personal. First of all, ideally, you've saved 3 to 6 months of personal expenses. If you've done that, I think you're good to go. I think you can have peace of mind knowing that you are all covered. You are gonna have to come to terms with the fact that you're going to dip into that, right? It's funny because we build these savings accounts and then we don't want to touch them, and that's a great habit. But the reason that the 3 to 6 month savings account is there is for times like this. So come to terms with the fact that you're going to dip into that account, and that's okay. So ideally, you've got that in place. Whether you do or whether you don't, it is a great idea to know your monthly overhead. And by that, I mean, what does it cost to run the basics of your household, your mortgage, your utilities, your car payments, whatever the basic needs are, food, right? What does it cost? What is that monthly number that you need to have to be able to stay afloat in your household? Because what you can do is find that number, and if you look at that and however much money you have saved, you know how long you are good for, even if you don't make another dime. I know when I did this in my personal life, when all this first came about, I did this very exercise, and it brought a lot of peace into my mind and into my heart when I knew, okay, here's our savings, here's our monthly overhead. I've got enough to get us through several months of this, so we are good, right? It just brings about that peace. So run the numbers so that you aren't blind to this whole thing, right? And then you're going to use any income in the next 90 days to pad your savings account as much as possible. So obviously you're going to set aside money for taxes, but a lot of people, like I, typically take a percentage of every commission I get and I reinvest it back into the business. I'm going to keep doing that, but if I don't have that 3 to 6 month savings account in place, pad that thing with every last dime until you get to 3 to 6 months, okay? So avoid other investments, avoid other kinds of spending until you can get that savings account padded, because that peace of mind in chaotic times like this is worth a lot. So boom, do that. Also, maintain reasonable spending habits, right? Now's not the time to go crazy on Amazon, even though it's easy and you have all day to shop on there. Stay reasonable with your spending habits right now during this time. At the same time, let me talk out the other side of my mouth now. Look for ways to maximize your entertainment dollars. So if you've never had Disney Plus or Netflix or Hulu or whatever, if you have a newspaper that you love and you want to subscribe to it or get a magazine or whatever, buy new books, new board games, those are all relatively cheap entertainment. And especially like a streaming service is hours of entertainment really cheap. So if there are ways to spend a little bit of money and get a big bang for your buck during this quarantine, that might be a good idea to maximize that entertainment dollar. And then I'll say this, we are not financial or investment advisors, so take everything I say about finances with a grain of salt. But if you are good to go financially, it is a good time to be in the stock market because funds have been cheap during this time. So obviously, again, we're not financial or investment people, but think about it. Talk to your financial pro about all that stuff. Let's talk business.
I do have one question that I thought might be relevant to what you're asking about.
Yeah, buddy.
Or talking about. Karen says, what percentage do you reinvest back in the business?
That's a great question. I started off when I first started, I did this from day one, and I'm glad I did. I started off at 5% of every check, right? And I invested that in my business. But over the course of time, as your business grows, it gets more expensive to run your business, right? That's just the natural way that it progresses. So now I do 12%. I'm hoping to get up to 15% of every check back into my business. And let me tell you the beauty of that, by the way, is when you set your goal. Like, so I set my 2020 goals. I calculated how much commissions income that would be to me, right? How much I would make. Then I took my percentage and I calculated that. And then I said, okay, this is my annual budget this year. Boom, I've got it. So when you have a habit of reinvesting in your business, whether it's 5%, whether it's 25%, whatever that is, and then you project your goals, now you know what your projected budget's going to be too. And now you can know how you want to spend it. And then you don't have to feel guilty or worry about it because you know that money is there to be able to spend on your business. That is a great question. Good stuff. Okay, let's talk about business finances. So you need to do the same thing that you did in your personal world. Look at your business overhead as well and know how much you need to spend in your business each and every month, right? Agent fees, tech fees, office space, personnel, all these expenditures. Know what it costs every month to keep your business alive, right? Then look at the discretionary spending and cut the fat on anything that's not producing results for you right now. If it's not producing ROI, it's got to go right now, okay? Now is, let me say this too, now is not the time to stop all of your lead gen efforts, but it is time to figure out ways to exchange time for money, to spend time instead of spending money. So, for example, maybe you send videos, speaking of videos, send videos to your sphere instead of sending them mail or pop-bys, right? Do a little text video to them. Maybe you produce shareable content for social media and ask people to share it rather than running paid ads right now, right? Maybe, obviously, you're not meeting people for coffees or lunches, but maybe you can still connect with people even more by meeting virtually. So you spend that time instead of spending that money. When things open up and you can get out there a little bit more, maybe instead of mailing a neighborhood, you don't want to spend that much money right away. Maybe you do door hangers on doors instead of mailing a neighborhood. So obviously, don't do that right now because you're quarantined. But as things open up, and figure out a way to do it. And so right now, figure out creative ways to spend time instead of spending money. And we've got more ideas on all that stuff. Okay, let's talk activity. This is the biggest stuff I wanted to get to, and I can just look at the clock right now and tell you we're going to go a little bit over, but I want to get all of this information to you, okay? So we're just going to keep rocking and rolling through it. If you do have to leave, we'll get you the replay and all that stuff, so don't stress out, don't worry. But I want to go through all this stuff because I think it's really going to be helpful. Let's talk about what activities we should be focused on. And again, if you have any questions at this point, put them in the questions box. No worries at all. If you are having any audio issues, just exit out, close it down, come back into the meeting. We still have space in this meeting, so you're not going to be booted out. You will be able to get back in. So if you have any issues with the audio, just do that, okay? Now, activity. I think this can be the most productive 30, 60, 90 days you've ever had in your business, ever. It has already been the most productive 30 to 45 days that I've had in my business as far as what I've gotten done. And I'm pumped about it, okay? So let's talk about what things we could be doing. First of all, client care. Right now, this is super important. You've got to be a leader for your active clients. Let them know where they are in the process and communicate what the next steps are. Buying or selling a house or an apartment right now, or in general, in regular times, is a super stressful thing for people. You know that. It's emotional, it's stressful, it's hard, and that's when everything is normal. Right now, it's dialed up even extra. It's ratcheted up because people have no clue what's going on. Are we having closings? Are inspectors allowed to do their job? Are there appraisals? Know those answers, first of all, and that's why we have those links to what NYSAR's put out. Know those answers, but then communicate very proactively with your people. Let them know where they are. Let them know what's coming up. Let them know when you expect things to happen, and be a leader for them in the transaction, okay? Keep your eyes on the hot sheets as well, because there's going to be real estate activity happening still. So continue to keep your finger on the pulse of the market that you're in, and then over communicate with your buyers and sellers right now. I'm telling people that if you have a buyer or seller under contract, you need to be touching base with them at least every 48 hours, if not more. I think once a day is totally fine, but at least every 48 hours, because things are changing rapidly, as you know. They're changing on a daily basis. So keep your clients informed so that they feel like you have got things under control. You have the strong hand that is going to guide them through the transaction. So be the leader, over communicate, and help your people feel peace that you've got things under control. Boom. Let's talk lead gen, lead follow-up. Buyer leads right now, for active buyers who have been looking at homes before all this happened, they may not know where they are with things, and you need to make sure you inform them. So think about texting or emailing them a dialogue that kind of looks like this. Hey guys, just wanted to touch base with you regarding showings and coronavirus. The executive order has prohibited in-person showings of any kind, but I'm happy to reach out to a listing agent on any home you'd like and see if a broker or seller has done a walkthrough video, or be willing to shoot one and send it our way. That way, we can at least see if the property might be a good fit or not, and we can still stay safe. So just let me know. Thanks so much, right? Make your own version of that, but it's a great way for you to reach out to those active buyers who have been looking prior to all the shutdown, okay? Be communicating with them. More lead gen, lead follow-up, seller leads. For people that are thinking about hitting the market, you've got to use your best judgment to advise them. Some people have wanted to hit the market quickly before more of a shutdown occurs or before the market slows down potentially. So guide them through that. But if they prefer to wait, let them wait. You absolutely have to put your client's needs first. It is your job, it is your fiduciary responsibility, and it is just the right thing to do. Treating people the right way will always be a good thing for you and for your business. So if you think people should honestly wait to list their house, don't tell them to list right now. Tell them to wait. It'll be okay, all right? So treat your clients the right way and they'll take care of you, I promise. Let's talk about sphere touches. Now, this is a little bit tricky because I know in a state of emergency that you are not allowed to send sales messages, right? You can't sell or solicit or things like that during this time. So be smart, stay compliant with everything that I'm going to say about this, right? And talk with NYSAR if you have any questions about it. Sphere touches. Let's talk about client events. And the reason that this is in here is because we have a AAA baseball team here in Indianapolis. We had a big client event that we do every year where we rent out this section of the ballpark. Everybody gets food and drinks, all that stuff. We had our invitations printed, and the next day they canceled the first part of the season, right? So, but guess what I did? I sent them anyway, and then I followed it up with a text and said, hey, obviously this event is rescheduled, but we'll keep you posted, right? But stay in contact with your people. I love it. Interest rates, communicate with your people about whether it makes sense for them to refinance. If you know they have some equity, if you feel like maybe their rate's a little high, hook them up with your lender pal. Your lender pal is going to appreciate it, and you could save your client hundreds and hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, all good things, right? Communicate the market expectations, what you're seeing in the market right now. You can communicate what my outlook was, if that's your outlook. You can tell them what you think about your market, about your town, your city, your neighborhood. Communicate that with the people that are in your sphere and just stay in contact with them there. Here's something else I love, okay? And again, stay compliant. Don't be salesy. Don't sell people, but it is an awesome time right now to call through all of your database just to chat and just to make sure people are doing well. I just finished doing this in April, but I would love for you to call all of your people and just say, hey, John, what's up? It's Terry. Haven't talked to you in a while. I'm just sitting around the house during quarantine, so I just thought I'd reach out and check in on all my people. How you guys doing? Everybody safe, everybody healthy, right? Just being a good person. It's so great. I had so many amazing conversations from people that when I just called through everybody. There's never been a better time to call your database for no particular reason whatsoever. So sphere touches, super huge. Obviously, make sure you're not making any unsolicited sales calls that are prohibited during a state of emergency. Be smart, be compliant, ask NYSAR if you have any questions, but make sure during this time you're staying in contact with your people. So I want to know, put in the questions box, how are we doing so far? Is this, at least at the start of this activity section, are we sparking a few ideas for how you can continue to be active right now? I hope so. We have a lot more still coming. And I remind you, we're going to have all this stuff available at the end of this presentation. So stick around, so much more to come. But is it helpful so far? Let me know in the questions box, and producer Christian can chime in and let us know. So let's talk virtual open houses. First of all, right now, be smart about how you do this, if you do this at all, right? Don't do any open houses right now. They're not allowed. Don't do it. Bad idea. That's pretty much everywhere in the country, but especially you guys, don't be doing open houses right now. But maybe there's an opportunity to do a virtual open house on a vacant house or on a builder's spec home or things like that. Stay compliant, talk to NYSAR if you have any questions, but think about doing a virtual open house. And maybe as things open up, if you can't do it now, but you can do it in a couple weeks, then do it. Virtual open house is an awesome idea. So what do? You just have fun with it. Announce it and promote it just like you would a regular open house. So schedule it for 30 minutes on an upcoming day. So we, like in Indiana, we do a lot on Sundays, and they're typically 2 to 3 hours long. So if I was doing this next weekend, I would say we're doing an open house, a virtual open house. It's going to be from 1 to 1:30 on Sunday. Make it 30 minutes, and then when that time comes, go live on Facebook and Instagram and walk them through the house. Give them the basic tour, right? Just like they were a buyer that showed up at an open house. Don't be polished or practiced or perfect. Just be a normal person and talk to them. Make jokes, offer them snacks, tell them that you've got a really lovely spread for them in their own refrigerator that you put out. Just have fun with it. Give them the elbow bump virtually through the phone, whatever you do, right? Walk them through the house, have some fun. Once you get through the tour, tell them goodbye, set the phone down in the kitchen, keep it pointed at you, and then just stay quiet for a second, like you're really at the open house and nobody's there, right? And then boom, somebody else jumps on, greet people like they just arrived, act like they're a brand new guest, and go on the tour again. Do it a couple times, have some fun with it, make it your own, be creative, but do this a virtual open house. And then listen, just like a real open house, you got to have real follow-up too, right? So for everyone who likes or comments on your virtual open house video, on that live video, shoot them a DM, a direct message through Facebook, through Instagram, message them, thank them for coming, do what you would normally do. Ask them, say, hey, we're trying to get some feedback for the seller. Can you tell me what you thought of this house? They could rate it on the floor plan, the price, the overall appeal, all that. So check in with them, follow up with them just like it was a real open house and they really attended. If you have fun with this, your attendees will as well. So Christian, I want to come over to you before I continue on with some more ideas. I want to talk to you and see if this is sparking any kind of helpfulness for people, and if so, have they commented on what might be helpful?
Yeah, I mean, great ideas, helpful, absolutely, yes. So
Okay.
some people have been doing something similar, and they mentioned that they've been doing some of those things, calling their contacts, etc. But yeah, most people have commented they like the uplifting outlook.
I love it. Good. Okay. Good. Let's talk about some more ideas for how you can be building your business right now. So online leads and old leads, right? Again, I'll remind you, stay compliant with your local regulations, with what NYSAR is putting out there during the state of emergency, all that, no sales calls, etc. But whenever you can make a call, or if you can phrase it in a way that keeps you compliant, then do it. Call all of your old online leads, even if you've never made contact with them before, right? Most of us, if you've ever had, maybe your brokerage gives you a website, or through the website, you get some web leads, and you probably in your CRM or in your phone or in your database, you've got this hopper of leads that never came to fruition, right? Because online you couldn't reach them or whatever. Or maybe you met them at an open house and they're just an old lead. Maybe they called off of a sign and they're just an old lead. Call all of your old leads, call all of your online leads just to check in and just to see, hey, do they still have plans to do something? Now, again, if that's considered a sales call by NYSAR, don't do it until you're allowed to again, until the state of emergency is lifted. But as soon as you can, call all of your old leads and all of your online leads. And I know you're thinking like, oh boy, that sounds awful. It's not going to work. Well, let me ask you this. What do you have to lose? What's the worst thing that could happen if you do that? You waste a couple of hours, quote unquote, waste a couple of hours. But let me ask you a better question. If you do this, if you call this hopper of leads, what's the best that could happen? What could go right for you if you actually took an hour or 2 hours and called through all these people? You know what the best is that could happen. You could pick up a couple of clients. You could close a few more transactions. You could make tens of thousands of dollars more than if you hadn't taken the hour and made those calls. So call all of your old leads, all of your online leads. Again, I urge you to stay compliant with what NYSAR regulates, with local regulations during the state of emergency, all that. Stay compliant, but when you're allowed to make these kinds of calls, do it. And if you can do it now in a compliant way. Virtual buyer and seller seminars. I love this idea. You can host a buyer or seller seminar, an educational seminar via Zoom or GoToMeeting or any of these platforms, right? If you wanted to throw a little money at it, you could run Facebook ads and promote it on on Facebook or Instagram. You can also email your sphere to let them know you're providing this educational experience for them. And then with whoever's on, whether it's one person or 100 people, go through your basic listing presentation if it's a seller seminar, go through your basic buyer consultation if it's a buyer seminar, have a Q&A period. If it's a buyer person, maybe bring on a lender. If it's a seller, maybe bring on a home inspector, and put on a really great educational seminar all online via Zoom. There are people that do this in a normal market when we're allowed to be out and about, when we're allowed to have meetings. People do it at the library or the coffee shop or the clubhouse of the neighborhood. This happens all the time. Well, listen, now it is easy. It's so easy to just jump on and do it online. It's a great way to pick up some new clients potentially, and I think you'll get leads if you do this and make sure you follow up with them, right? So everybody that's on there is on there for a reason, right? At some point, they're thinking of buying or selling. So be educational, be a resource, make that connection, and then stay in contact with them. Boom. I love that idea. Virtual buyer seller seminar. You could do that literally next week. You could do it literally next Friday and promote it next week, and it will be on. You know what? That reminded me. When we were talking about client events before, we are still, I told you we had one canceled, but guess what? Tomorrow night we are doing a virtual trivia for all of our clients. We're doing trivia. You can use Kahoot. There's a couple others like menti.com, which is MENTI.com. I'm going to put that in the chat real quick. Or actually, Christian, can you put menti.com in the chat, and Kahoot.it? There are ways to run these virtual trivia games so you can still have client events, but just do them virtually. That's what we're going to do. We're going to have a couple hundred people on this big virtual thing. We're going to give out prizes. It's going to be super fun. So think about ways to take the offline world and bring it online. Boom. Okay. Now, let's talk branding. And when I say branding, I'm talking most specifically about social media. This is the ideal time to be branding yourself and creating massive amounts of content for social media. I've got a few tips around this, okay? First of all, set a goal. How many videos can you create this month? Can you make 10 videos? Can you make 20 videos? All we suggest you do is use time blocking in your schedule and create these videos in bulk. So set the camera up, get your makeup and hair all done up to where you're happy with yourself, get the lighting just right, set it all up, sit down, make your video, then go change your shirt, make video number 2, then go change your shirt, make video number 3. You can do a million different things. You can do a cooking show, you could do a market stats show, you could do a buyers series, you could do a seller series, you could do a what to expect when you stage your house. There's so many different videos you can create. So create them in block and just change your shirt every time, and then start dripping them out. Use a content calendar so that every few days you know what videos you're going to release from what you created, right? Boom.
Yeah, Terry, extra credit if you change the set every time too, or if you move to a different
That's
location.
bonus. That's a little next level. If you're in the kitchen
extra
for one, and then you go to the backyard for one, right? Then you're in your office. I love it though. Bonus credit. Christian will give you a big hug if you change your set every time too.
virtual.
Virtual hug. Well, what other kind of hug is there right now? Okay, so more tips. Schedule and brainstorm this next batch of content for yourself, right? If you're thinking, man, I have no ideas around this, it's probably because you haven't sat down and spent 30 minutes uninterrupted brainstorming video ideas. I do this about twice a year just to try to keep my content fresh. I already told you that I'm like a video junkie and I always am looking for more ideas. But I sat down in January and I just brainstormed and I came up with like 13 or 14 different series that I could make that I've been making, right? And the only reason I had these ideas is because I sat down and I actually brainstormed, dedicated. Not I'm waiting for an idea to come to me while I'm driving around writing offers, right? So brainstorm, schedule time to brainstorm, and you'll have a bunch of ideas, I promise, okay? Think about content besides videos. There's images, graphics, quotes, there's recommendations. There's all kinds of things you can share besides video. And again, this is an awesome time to learn a new app or software that's going to help you. We love Canva. Canva is an awesome resource, and Christian will link it up in the chat as well. It's free. It's graphic design, layout, super easy and intuitive. You just type things in and drag them around, and it's pretty awesome. InShot is an app that we love for video editing or for image editing as well. There's one called WordSwag. I can make Christian hustle if I want to in the comments, but if you just Google search this stuff too, you'll be able to find it. No worries. So, but this is a great time to learn those softwares, right? It's a great time to do it. So do that. Let's talk about recruiting, because you might be in a brokerage or on a team that will reward you if you bring new people to it. So this is a great time to set recruiting goals and to create a recruiting plan for yourself. Again, stay compliant. I don't know if some of this stuff might be considered sales. It might not. Check with NYSAR. Stay compliant. But when you're allowed to, start working on recruiting people. Here's how I suggest you do it. Set a goal number of recruits for 2020. Let's say you want to recruit 3 people into your team or brokerage. Then that's your goal. You want to bring 3 people in this year. Now I want you to multiply that goal by the number 3. That's how many names you're going to have to brainstorm to get kind of a hit list of people that you want to reach out to and contact about being a part of your team or brokerage, right? So multiply that goal by 3. So now I've got 9. I need to make a list of 9 people that I'm going to reach out to, right? So think about agents you've done deals with who are awesome, people in your database that you think would be an awesome realtor, and reach out to them, right? Once you have that list, shoot them a message that you'd love to talk with them about your awesome team or your awesome brokerage, and then schedule a little virtual coffee or virtual cocktail, whatever you want to do, right? But if you are rewarded by people for bringing people into your brokerage or into your team, this is an awesome time to recruit, okay? So, all right, let's talk projects. This is going to be kind of, we're starting to wind down on the content. I'm going to do some Q&A. I want to leave time for that as well. Thanks for sticking with me. Again, appreciate the couple hundred that are on this still. But I just want to make sure I get you all this good stuff, okay? So projects. This quarantine is just tailor-made for working on projects. Like, this is the time. You need to be focusing on new systems, new innovations, new lead gen, and whatever projects will most move your business forward. So some ideas. Sphere marketing. Is your sphere marketing plan ready to go for the entire year? Do you know how you're going to be staying in touch with your people on a monthly basis? Do you have all of your email newsletters written? How are you going to be contacting your sphere throughout the duration of the rest of this year? Is it ready? If not, this is the time to get it ready. Let's talk CRM automation and optimization. Most of us, even if you use Excel, but most of us probably use some kind of CRM, right? If not, you probably should be, and we have trainings on that, by the way. But use a CRM, and if you're like most people, you have a CRM and you use like 4% of that thing, right? Most of us have CRMs that are a lot more robust than what we are using it for. So this is a great time to dive into your CRM, figure out how to optimize, figure out how to automate, figure out those drip campaigns you've always been wanting to do. This is the time to get those things in place, because that's going to take the load off of you when business resumes, right? Contract to close. How's your contract to close game? Is it tight? Do you work off of checklists? Do you have a systems for what you do every single time contract to close? If not, it's a perfect time to get that in place. By the way, those last 2 things, the CRM automation and optimization, the contract to close, if you get those systems tightened up during this time, you will be able to handle more business when the market reopens. You will be able to have less stress, to make more sales, and have a much greater capacity because you took the time now to get these things in place. So I highly recommend, if you haven't done those things, do those things. Let's talk farming. If you've thought about mailing neighborhoods or mailing apartment buildings or mailing as a strategy, now's the time to dig into, where should I be mailing? What neighborhoods? What apartment buildings? What are the turnover rates? What's the average sale price? Doing your research there to figure out the best places for you to be farming, and then figuring out, what in the world am I going to send, right? If you're someone who's already farming, I want to know, is it ready for the rest of the year? Are all your mail outs done for the rest of the year? Are all the designs made for the rest of the year? Now is a great time to work ahead on these things, okay? New tech to implement. Maybe there's new tech that you've been meaning to look at. This is a perfect time to be looking at some of those things. All of these software platforms have free trials, right? A week free trial, 30-day free trial. This is the perfect time to hit some of those free trials and find out, are there things that can make a difference in your business and have impact, right? So new tech to implement. Let's talk about making a new hire. This is a great time to actually make a new hire. You may not want them to start for another month or 2 months or whatever, but there's no reason you can't be soliciting resumes right now saying, hey, I'm starting this position in July or in August. But get your resumes together. Start finding some people that might be a good fit for you as an assistant or you as a buyer's agent or something like that. Now's the time to be pulling all that together. You could be doing virtual interviews. You could be calling references. You can be doing all those things that you do. And even if you're willing to start paying ahead of time, you can start to onboard your new hire right now while you have the time. So it's a great time to make a new hire right now as well, if that's right for you. But whatever it is, choose the most important projects that you can think of that are going to move your business forward. And if you have thought of like one or two things that might be ones that you want to do, then put them in the questions box and we'll find out what strategies or what projects you want to be working on right now. Let's talk quickly about education. This is an awesome time. I'm preaching to the choir here because you're on this webinar. This is an awesome time to be taking online courses, to be doing webinars, to listen to podcasts, to watch videos, to make yourself better, and also a great time to get your CE done if you haven't already done that. So take advantage of this time to educate yourself as well, because that's going to be helpful. We are going to give you in just a minute the PDF of the coronavirus playbook, and again, we'll have a email that goes out with links to all this stuff too. So if you don't grab it right now, you'll get an email with all that stuff. But at the end of that is a 30-day action plan where basically you're going to be setting your schedule for every day. You're going to identify your top 3 30-day goals. You're going to write down the first action items that you need to take on those goals. You're going to make a projects list and an education plan, and then reevaluate after 30 days as well. I'm going to escape out of my slides really quick. I know you see a mountain on your screen right now, but I want to bring this up so that you can see kind of what this is that we're going to be giving you in just a minute here. The coronavirus playbook it's like this, right? It's a lot of the stuff we've covered. It's got schedules. It's got all the stuff we've talked about. But at the end, this is the 30-day plan that I was telling you about, right? So it's got your 30-day action plan. You write your goals down, your action items on this goals, your projects, your education plan, and then the activities or the schedule, your daily schedule right here. You can write it down. We've got a few pages of that as well for you to kind of wrap up the coronavirus playbook there, okay? So that's coming your way in just a minute. But at the end of the day, when we talk about this 30-day action plan, use everything that we've talked about. The biggest thing is action is greater than perfection. Action over perfection. Taking small imperfect action is going to do a whole heck of a lot more for your business than waiting to get started until everything is perfect. Waiting and tweaking and holding on and getting ready to get ready to get ready to get ready. Take imperfect action, get started, and correct and clarify as you go. Action creates confidence, action creates clarity, and action will move your business forward. So always have a bias towards action, okay? Finally, the last kind of words before we give you the entire playbook as a PDF, I want to tell you, and before we get to the Q&A, I want to say that we genuinely believe, all of us on the Boom team genuinely believe that while this is a serious situation and scary situation for so many people, we think that this is a temporary situation, and we truly believe it presents some massive opportunity. So if you can stay engaged, you can stay productive in the next 90 days or so, 60, 30, however long it goes. If you can stay productive and engaged during that time, you will be set up to win and hit your goals for this year. We think the great things are still happening, and we think that you can use a lot of the things we talked about today to still have an amazing year despite this current slowdown, okay? So stay positive, stay active and engaged, and get excited about the year you're going to have, okay? Let's go state of the end bonus. Christian, I'm going to ask you to upload these into the webinar now. So we've got 2 PDFs for you. One is the coronavirus playbook itself. It's a PDF, and you can print it off or fill it in however you want to. It's got a lot of the information we talked about in today's webinar, and then it's just super actionable for you to be able to rock and roll with that. Also, Christian is uploading these slides into GoToWebinar as well. So as he does that, you will probably see a little handouts icon pop up. It hasn't been there before, but it should pop up now. If you click on that, you click on the files, you'll be able to download it right then. Again, if you're having any trouble with that, don't fret, because later this afternoon, we'll be sending out an email that's got replay link to this video, so you can watch the whole thing again if you want to. It's also got those PDFs. It's got links to more resources as well. So Christian, did you manage to get those uploaded, you think?
Um, the playbook, I doesn't seem to be there. I'll do the go ahead and send out the slides.
When you yeah, and sometimes there's a delay too, so when he gets that dragged and dropped into the webinar, then it'll automatically upload, but it might be a few minutes too, so you might have to stick around for a few minutes. And again, if for some reason the tech doesn't work out here, we're going to send it to you via email in just a couple hours too, okay? As he continues to work on that, I do want to share a couple of other free resources for you that we have to check out. First of all, there's our podcast, the Boom Real Estate Podcast. It's all over iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, all that stuff. The links are in the chat. So subscribe. We've re-released our best work from home episodes, and we've got season 3.5, which is all about building your business during coronavirus. So we're going super deep on that, working from home hacks, controlling your time, financial tips, things like that. So check out the podcast. And then we also have a Facebook group, and that's called the Boom Circle. And it's an online community, right? It is free to join. Producer Christian is going to put a link in the chat for this Facebook group, okay? In that group, we are sharing tips, we're sharing strategies, we're sharing best practices. It's an awesome community of people that are engaging with this, that are sharing ideas. We're sharing a lot of content in there as well. Again, it is free to join. We're going to be doing trainings in that group coming up that are all free, a bunch of good stuff. But type in Boom Circle Online Community or use the link that Christian is putting out in the chat. You do have to request to join because we don't want, just anybody in there. But once you guys request to join the group, we will approve you very quickly, and then you can be in there in community with us, and we can all kind of like strategize and grow this thing together. And there's a lot of resources in there already, and then we'll be doing a lot more in the next several weeks with that as well. So Christian, can you put the link to that Facebook group into the chat, please? Oh, I know what the problem is.
Yeah, I sent
Okay, so
out
the
the
actual
Boom Circle, and the slides have now uploaded.
nice, and I know what happened on the here. I'm going to fix it so you can upload this into GoToWebinar, because I see that I took it out of that folder on accident, and I just now put it back.
So it was there, but it's not anymore, but it will be. Oh, there we go. Okay, I got it.
So now you can upload it. Okay, so that's that. We're gonna get to the Q&A here, and I'm happy to dive into some Q&A. I know Christian has been curating some questions for us to go through. Before he chimes in on those, I'm just gonna leave the email address up here on the screen, info@boomrealestatepodcast.com. If you have any questions, we are an open book with our business, and the reason we did this was to help our agents. That's how this whole thing got started, is we wanted to figure out and try to lead our agents through these uncertain times. So we created the playbook, we created this training and these details, and now we obviously have spent the last several weeks just sharing them across the country with people because we really want to be helpful. So all that to say, if you have questions, if you need more help, then email us anytime. All four of us, me, Todd, Megan, and producer Christian, all four of us get every email that you send to info@boomrealestatepodcast.com. And so we will jump on those emails like spider monkeys.
Yeah,
and
like spider monkeys.
We will become new best friends.
I appreciate Ted. He said you were clearly prepared, and I appreciate that. Thanks, Ted. We'll get it next time. But
was he saying we really were prepared, or that was he making fun of us because we couldn't get the handouts uploaded?
One of the two. But he did have one question that recurred with several people, which is advice for new agents.
Yeah, that's great. If you are brand new, then this is a great opportunity for you to put things out and to connect with your database. And here's what I want to tell you. Here's the little strategy. This is exactly what I did when I was brand new into the business. The very first thing I did was I wrote a letter that announced that I was in the business, right? And I gathered every bit of contact information from everybody that I'd ever met in my life. Yes, that's a lot of work, but this is worth it, I promise. So go through your phone, go through your Facebook friends and your Instagram followers and all that stuff, and create a master list of everybody you know. Then try to track down as much contact information as you can for these people. So send them a message, say, hey, I don't have your address. Can you shoot it my way? I've got something I want to mail you. If you don't have phone numbers, whatever, reach out and get as much contact as you can. Now you've got your master database. If you use a CRM, upload them into that, right? But create your master list. Now, you're going to write that announcement letter. it's going to say, hey, I'm new into real estate, super excited. If you don't have someone, I would love to be your person, and I will follow up with you about this and check in later, right? Okay, so send that out. Then I want you to start writing handwritten notes to everybody who you have their physical address, and write a handwritten note that says, hey, hey, it's Terry. Wanted to make sure you got my letter that I sent out. I'm super excited to be in real estate now. I don't know if you have someone that you love already or not, but if not, I'd love to be that person. I'll give you a call next week and follow up. Boom. So handwritten notes that say basically what I just said. Once you've done that and sent that out, the next week, make the phone call. And make the phone call. It doesn't have to be scary. The nice thing is you've already given them warning twice that you're going to be calling. You'll get a lot of voicemails. If it's a voicemail, just say, hey, just want to make sure you got my note. I don't know if you already have a realtor or not. If not, I'd love to be your person. And if you already have somebody, great, no worries, but hope you guys are well. Talk to you soon. See ya. Click. By the way, stay compliant with what NYSAR allows during all this. Okay, so I've said that. Stay compliant. Boom. So you're done there. If they answer the phone, then you're in business, because they say, hey, and you say, hey, it's Terry. I don't know if you got my my notes or my announcement letter, but hey, I just wanted to call and follow up because I said I'd be calling, so I wanted to just drop a quick call. I don't know if you guys already have someone or not, but if not, I would love to be your realtor. And then stop and be silent and see how they react, okay? If they say, oh yeah, of course, you're my person, you're my guy, you're my gal, I love you, let's go, then set their name aside, and they're gonna be someone that you're in contact with every single month. And we're gonna have more trainings on how to contact these people and how to market these people in the coming weeks. So don't worry, that's all coming. But that's the exact method that I use to get started in this business, and it works, right? So send the announcement letter, send a handwritten note to everybody, and then follow up with a call through your entire list of people that you sent that stuff to. So that's what I would be doing if I was brand new to the business. And if you are a few months in and have not even done that, do that now. Say, hey, I don't know if you heard, but 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, I got licensed and I'm a broker now in New York. I'm so excited. So that's what I would be doing right now if I'm a new agent. Make sure you get that done.
Terry, a couple things that I found early on when we were talking about obstacles.
Uh-huh.
Um, I was taken aback a little bit. The number one was fear,
Yeah.
where people just maybe either what's happened or what's happened to them personally or what's happened in general with the buildup around it. But you might address something around that.
Yeah, absolutely. So fear, obviously the biggest fear is just the health and safety of the people in your family, of you yourself. So make sure you're taking whatever precautions you can. Stay quarantined, take care of yourself, get enough sleep, drink enough water, all that. But if your fear is surrounding how's the market going to go, are people going to get laid off? Am I going to be able to continue to be a realtor? Am I going to be able to make any sales out of this? Here's what I would say to that. Number one, control what you can control. We talked about this earlier when we talked about habits and routines. Control what you can control, and what you can control right now is yourself, your time, your schedule, your activities. Those are the things you can control. So make sure that you're showing up for yourself, that you're getting a schedule in place, that you're doing the activities that are within your control to do, and keep moving forward, right? So even just action like that can help ease some fear because you're doing something, right? So that's number one. Then number two, the things that we talked about with mindset are so important, and making sure that you're cultivating that unstoppable mindset, that you are doing whatever it takes, even if it takes you the first 3 hours of your day. Make sure that you are staying focused on what you can do in order to make yourself feel good. And I don't mean like, drinking or whatever. I mean, what are the healthy things that you can do to make yourself get in a good headspace each day, right? Can you meditate? Can you pray? Can you exercise? Can you spend time with family? If you're having fear then these are the best ways to combat it. Your fear is reasonable, it's rational, it's okay. I would highly suggest starting meditation. And this is not a religious thing at all. I would just say like Headspace. I'm gonna type this into Christian to put in the chat. Calm is another app. Waking Up is another app. These are all apps that you can start to learn meditation. What I like about them and about the practice of meditation, I've done this for years, is it helps you to separate from your emotions so that you don't identify with them as much. You can just observe them, and then they lose some of their power that way. So instead of saying, I am fear, or I'm afraid, I'm scared, you say, oh, this is interesting. Fear is present that in me. And you can even start to feel like, oh, I'm feeling it in my chest. I feel it in my stomach. I feel it in my head, wherever you feel it. But when you start to do that through practice and meditation and just becoming aware of your own self, then you can start to separate from that and you don't feel the sting of it quite so acutely. Okay? So those are the things I would say is take care of your mental health. Do whatever it takes to feel good each day, even if that takes you a few hours to get there. It's okay. And then a special emphasis on meditation during this time. Okay. We actually, Christian and I have another meeting we've got to get to. So I know there may be questions I didn't answer. The email is there. If I didn't get to your question, and I'm sorry to cut it off like this, we just literally have a 2:30 meeting that we have to go to. Info@boomrealestatepodcast.com. Email your questions there. Contact us about anything at all. If you can't download the resources, don't worry, we're gonna get them to you via email. But at the end of the day, remember that the Boom community really is a family, and that's why we want you in that Facebook group. So join us and be a part of that family, part of that community. We are so thankful that you joined this webinar with us today, especially during this time. So I thank you so much for joining us. We are happy to have you in our community and amongst our people. If you need anything at all during this time, let us know. We are here for you, absolutely 100%. Thank you to producer Christian for managing all that stuff. Tons of love to each and every one of you from the Boom team. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. All our love is with you, and we will see you soon.